Hi everyone, Steph here from the Amazon and the jungles of Peru. So I'm in Peru for this sort of 10 days or so, 12 days, to do a little bit of work on myself. And so today's session is a little bit about that, and what it means to be a great doula. And I think there's a big part of being a really good doula that's about who we are as people. And I always say to new doulas, listen, you can be a new doula and be an amazing doula without having tons and tons of experience, because really what makes us great doulas is the life experiences that have brought us to this point, in our lives when we become doulas. And so part of that is it's really about who we are, sort of, I guess, more spiritually, if you will, and from a relationship perspective and the kind of people that we are in relationship. And, having a doula client is really a relationship, isn't it? It's a shorter relationship. It's not like a partner relationship. And there's a big bug. Go away. But it is a relationship. And so I think that we need to start thinking about that and the kind of work that we do for ourselves. So one of the things I talk a lot about in my business program is having a target market. And I think having a really clear target market is important. And one of the things that a lot of people get hung up on is they say, yeah, but that's not the only person I want to work with or I can work with. And I'm like, yeah, I know, of course not. But it's important to have that because that's who we're going to market to. But what makes for a really great doula and a successful doula in terms of running, a busy practice is being able to be a little bit of a chameleon. And I talk about this a lot, and I'm sure I've talked about this in other videos, is that concept and ability for us to be able to meet people where they're at. And this is something that I find I'm faced with time and time again with doula clients, is really about, being able to be who that person needs me to be and speak and communicate in a way that that person needs me to communicate and speak, and maybe not necessarily how I would default speak, right, or default communicate. And I think that's a really important, question for us, is to think about, am I adapting my language, my communication style, my service offering to each family individually? And if you're not, then I think you're missing out on an opportunity to be the perfect doula for that person. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're talking to someone who's very left brain, so let's say sort of a really analytical professional, are you speaking in more analytical terms? Oh my gosh, this bug. Sorry guys, this bug doesn't want to leave me alone now because I just had a shower for you. I had a shower for y'all. Isn't that nice? So you're speaking to a really analytical client, can you speak in an analytical way? So maybe that person would appreciate having a lot of research and data to support the kinds of things that we're talking about and sharing or that they're wondering about. But if you've got someone who's super right brain, so very sort of maybe more on the emotional spectrum side of things, more focused on feelings and how they feel at birth, if you start sending that person a bunch of studies, you're missing the boat on that person. You're not communicating in their language. So it's thinking both in terms of right brain, left brain, but also in terms of each family's individual needs. So of course, if someone's very analytical, sometimes what they need, though, is they need you to sit down with them and show them that you are, lovingly caring for their baby. And here's the information to back up some of the questions they have as parents. And so it's not one size fits all, right? It's not every left brain person wants research and every right brain person wants the feels. It's kind of a little bit of a mix and a blend of everything. And so how are you reading that person? And we talk a lot about, in doula training, we talk about active listening skills. So Google that if that's not super on your radar or you're terribly familiar with that. I think probably a lot of us are fairly familiar with the concept of active listening and sort of that idea and that notion of, really being attentive and paying attention when someone's speaking. And part of that is nodding and, showing our eyes, doing things with our eyes and our face and our body language. It's all of that, right? It's maybe restating what someone's saying. So what I'm hearing, I think what I'm understanding is you want this. So, and getting, and I think one of the important things is getting buy-in. I was recently dealing with a postpartum client and I was chatting with them about the doula that's working with their family. And I remember saying, well, what would be most helpful for you? What do you need the doula to do for you to help you understand and feel comfortable with what's happening right now? And I think for a second the client was almost taken aback because, for some people, they just think there's just one way of doing things, and there's not. And so I often explain the analogy of the chameleon, and that I think a good doula is a chameleon who can match whatever color flavor, each family is and what they bring to the table and what their needs are. So I think that's a really important thing. Now, being able to do that, I think that is a bit of a lifelong skill. For me, I feel like it came a little bit sort of in my more mature ages, but I speak with a lot of people who are half my age who have really, really absolutely phenomenal communication skills. So it's not an age thing or a maturity thing or a life thing. It's like, do you have a desire to learn how to communicate with other people, right? And where are you going to get that information from? And I think too, there's a lot of value in us practicing with the people around us. I know sometimes I'll be speaking in those ways with my kids or a partner or something, and they'll say, "Stop dueling me," like stop talking to me like a doula, basically, because that's what it sounds like to them. And I'm like, yeah, duh, I'll stop using effective communication strategies. Not, right? But it's irritating to partners and kids sometimes, but do it anyway, because it leads to healthier relationships overall. So one of the other things that I think is really important and that I'm going to talk about while I'm sitting here in the jungles of Peru is about the time we spend on ourselves. And I know for a lot of us we feel like that's a luxury, but it's not. It's no more luxury than eating and getting proper sleep and drinking water and exercise and all of those things that we know intuitively, our knowledge base, everyone around us tells us are things that are important for our health, our longevity, our well-being. But spending time on ourselves, our own self-growth, exploring the shit, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that's holding us back from our most authentic and awesome lives, like, how much time do we spend on that? And often it's not that much. We spend a lot more time on all those other things. And yet I feel like that introspection and that personal self-growth stuff, I just feel like that is, gosh, infinitely more important even. Because what happens is if you actually really start to spend some time on who you are and what you want and how you're going to grow as a human, is like all those other things actually kind of fall in line and fall into place. So food for thought on that one, in terms of its level of importance. And you're welcome to agree or disagree. It's all good. It's all good to have different views and different opinions, which is exactly what this talk is about. So I would love to hear what kinds of things you do. I will tell you that I'm a recent podcast addict. I love me some podcasts. I am an obsessive learner anyhow, and I always want to be learning new things. But I live in the Toronto area, so we spend a lot of time in traffic out here. And so one of the things that's really helpful and has helped my road rage a little bit, a lot, is having podcasts that inspire me while I'm driving. If you're spending a lot of time in transit, whether it's, driving or public transit, that's a really great opportunity to be learning. Yeah, you can listen to music, and music might make you feel good, but maybe you could also download some podcasts and learn some really cool shit. That's a cool idea too, right? And people who inspire you and make you think about who you are and who you are in this world and what you want to be in this world and how we all interconnect. And I promise you 1000% that is going to make you a better doula all around. So let us know your favorite podcasts. I did write a blog on podcasts, I think, at some point. Check over at doulaschool.ca/blog. I'm pretty sure I listed a bunch of them there. A bunch of podcasts and a bunch of, there's something else that I put in there too. But anyway, it was good. It's a good resource. So go ahead over there and have a look and tell me what else you guys do. I would love to hear. Not everyone can go to the jungle of Peru, and I am one blessed mofo to be able to be here. And and so I'm super appreciative to the universe of this opportunity. And I'm happy to share some of that with you and some of my thoughts and what I've learned. And would love you to share too, whatever that may be. I'm going to go before these bugs keep attacking me. All right, see you guys soon. Bye.